Help support the show by joining the Patreon or becoming a YouTube member. Also, hit that like button and subscribe if you want more Browns-focused content. So free agency has been going on for a little bit of time now. We've had more than just a few days of free agency to kind of chew on, and now we can kind of sit back, take a deep breath, and look at what names are out there and see if some of these names make sense for the Cleveland Browns, especially once we start getting into the value part of free agency, right? As you know, some of the names that you're going to sign on the first couple of days of free agency are usually the bigger, more expensive names, even though, to be honest with you, that didn't really happen this year. Most of the big contracts that got sent out weren't really about a player switching teams, more about players staying on teams that they are currently on, which is a growing trend, right? Players are staying where they're drafted, and then those players, if they are becoming available, they become available via trade, not necessarily free agency. So the landscape's kind of changing a bit, but what's always going to be true is that once you get further and further away from the first few days of free agency, you start to get closer and closer to the good value in free agency. So let's look at some guys who are still available who might have an interest for the Browns at the right price. If we look at the offensive line, there are two names that stand out to me. Mekhi Becton and Tevin Jenkins, my bad, not Telvin Jenkins, it's somebody else. Mekhi Becton, guard prospect, big guy. He could play a little bit of tackle. Wasn't really successful at doing that with the New York Jets, but did kind of catch on with Philly. Kind of surprised him and Philly didn't come to a deal yet. But, you know, if you're a Browns team that needs to get a little bit bigger, a little bit stronger at guard, this could have made sense if you're maybe willing to move off of Wyatt Teller, or if you just want some insurance there. So maybe Mekhi Becton makes a little bit of sense here. Tevin Jenkins is kind of a similar thing, right? Maybe you're willing to move Wyatt Teller. You want to get stronger, bigger at one of the guard positions. You can go get Tevin Jenkins, who's very violent. Admittedly, I don't think they're going offensive line anymore. I think they've done pretty much all they're going to do to address the offensive line. If they do address the offensive line, they're probably going to do tackle, which is why I brought up two guys who play guard but also have played tackle before, so they could serve a kind of swing purpose for you if the price goes down low enough. Let's talk about wide receiver real quick. A name that I think could make some sense for the Cleveland Browns. People are going to have objections to it because this guy hasn't had the greatest reputation the last few years. But that might be precisely why it might be a good idea, because Stephon Diggs is available. Doesn't seem like there's a lot of people interested in Stephon Diggs. Stephon Diggs is in desperate need of a one-year rehab deal where he gets to go somewhere, play football, prove that he's still a really good wide receiver, and then hit free agency again next year. Cleveland might be the perfect spot for him, despite the fact that they don't have a quarterback. There's just a ton of opportunity, and opportunity to me is a little bit more important than who's throwing you the ball if you're a wide receiver, because if you are in a place where there's a lot of opportunity for you to run routes, run plays for you, you're going to get the ball a lot, which means there's more chances for you to catch it, right? It's not rare for a wide receiver to have a 1,000-yard season with a trash quarterback. And whoever the Browns bring in, look, it's not going to be the greatest situation at quarterback, but it will serve the purpose for Stephon Diggs. So a lot of opportunity in the Browns wide receiver room. Stephon Diggs is somebody who desperately needs to have kind of a one-year rehab year after kind of underwhelming in Houston and also tearing his ACL. So you expect him to be cheap, low commitment. The Browns need a veteran number one wide receiver, so you can look at Stephon Diggs to fulfill that void, while also allowing Jerry Jeudy to do what he thrives at the most. So you get a downfield threat in Stephon Diggs, one-year deal. Could make some sense here. Amari Cooper, bringing him back would make sense, right? He's familiar with the offense. Only reason I don't think they do this is because it seems like the receiving situation got better once he left. So removing him from his role feels like something that benefited the rest of the team. So I doubt they go back to him, even if the price is right for Amari Cooper, because I think they feel that allowing Jerry Jeudy to take over what it was that Amari did, because there is some overlap between those two, allowed Jerry Jeudy to be more unlocked, and that's better. Stephon Diggs makes a little bit more sense because Stephon Diggs, completely different wide receiver than Jerry Jeudy. They're not going to have a ton of overlap in their route concepts. Well, not overlapping the route concepts. They're going to have route concepts together, but it's like you're not going to ask Stephon Diggs to do the same thing Jerry Jeudy does. That's a better way of putting it. Brandon Cooks is somebody to go after, right? They need another reliable older wide receiver. Brandon Cooks is the reliable veteran free agent wide receiver, right? Like he's done that so many times throughout his career. Wouldn't it be a surprise if he continued to do that again? Tyler Lockett might make sense depending on who you bring, right? Which is going to bring us to quarterback. This is interesting to me, right? A couple of scenarios I think I find interesting. If you bring in Russell Wilson and then you also sign Tyler Lockett, I think it then would make a lot of sense for you to go and try to get Travis Hunter at 2 and see if you can grab Shedeur Sanders if he falls out the top 10 into the 20s, which I do think if he falls to the 20s, the only team you have to worry about taking is probably Pittsburgh. And I'm not 100% convinced Pittsburgh would take him if he was there, despite a lot of people feeling that that would be the case. It's just my against the grain opinion here. My feeling is I don't think Pittsburgh would take him, even if he was there. But if you get that combo, Russ would make some sense here because while Sanders is getting ready, you can utilize Hunter pretty well as a downfield threat. Like Russ Moonballs and Travis Hunter would probably work out well early on in the season. Kirk Cousins is another name at quarterback that would make a ton of sense for the Cleveland Browns. Knows the system, knows Kevin Stefanski, right? There are some things I think Kirk Cousins is going to have to accept about where his career is, and I think that's the big concern I have with Kirk is that I don't think Kirk has accepted where his career is because he's talking and making demands that he is simply not in the position to make anymore, right? This whole desire about not wanting to go to a team that could potentially draft a quarterback. At this point in Kirk Cousins' career, he is the guy that you go to if you want to draft a quarterback this year or next year. So it's going to happen to him. He's 36 years old. He's past his prime playing days. So him holding on to that desire does concern me a little bit. With Russell Wilson, there's similar concerns there, right? Russ still kind of views himself as a starter and views what he did last season as a redecoration of that. The price has to be right on Kirk Cousins. The price has to be right on Russell Wilson. But if the price is right, I think both of these guys could be fine bridge quarterbacks for you for a year or two. Is it going to be amazing? Are we going to do laser eye Andrew Berry over this? No, right? But they're bridge quarterbacks, right? They're going to get you from point A to B, and that's fine. I think that's fine, right? Again, we don't have to. I feel like we get into this zone as fans where we feel like we have to become fanatical about anybody who plays quarterback for our favorite team. Because I've seen people get fanatical about dudes like DTR, right? Fanatical about Baker Mayfield or Deshaun Watson or anybody throughout this time. And it's important to remind folks that, quarterback's just another position you fill, and just like any other position, there might be years where in order to get it to where it needs to be decent, got to sign somebody you're not super excited about, but they ultimately can get the basic needs of the job done. And if they're able to accomplish that, then ultimately that's fine because they're a short-term solution. I think Kirk Cousins, Russell Wilson, nobody's going to be excited. Nobody's going to be throwing a parade for it. But they are sufficient enough, or at least you would hope they're sufficient enough to be able to achieve what you want to achieve. And there's certainly a better shot than like leaning on a career backup like a Russell Wilson or a Gardner Minshew who signed with the Chiefs or something like that, right? Like I'd much rather go down the route of somebody who has played at a high enough level recently. Russell Wilson was on starting quarterback of a playoff team. Kirk Cousins, starting quarterback of a team that won 10 games. So you can win games with these two. It's been proven. Atlanta was able to win a lot of games with him. They won more games than they did last year with just Kirk Cousins alone, right? I think Penix came in, got the last 1 or 2 wins against like Carolina in another weak team. But Kirk, you can win games with him. Russell Wilson, same thing. You might not be excited about it, but you can definitely win games with Russell Wilson. You can even make the argument for Kenny Pickett, even though I think it's a bit more circumstantial with Kenny Pickett. He's more in that Case Keenum zone to me. But yeah, all right, am I going to be excited? And am I going to get a Kirk Cousins jersey? Am I going to get a Russell Wilson Browns jersey if they sign here? No, I got respect for myself. But are they going to be able to put you in a position where if your defense is good enough, your run game is good enough, your wide receivers are good enough, you can win games with them? That is definitely possible with these guys, more so than a lot of other options here, right? Like, you're not going to be able to do this with a 40-year-old Joe Flacco. Like, he's 40. He's not able to play 17 games anymore. It's not a good situation, right? Like, if you sign Joe Flacco and you go into the regular season with Joe Flacco and Kenny Pickett, you go into the draft with those two in your quarterback room, you definitely got to draft somebody. And you're probably going to have to start a rookie, and who knows what kind of level of quarterback play you're going to get from a rookie. Kirk Cousins, Russell Wilson, they will start for you. And you can trust them to be the starter for the bulk of the season. And if you're good enough around them, they'll be all right. And right now, all right is a blessing for the Browns quarterback position, right? Again, I ain't even saying they good. I'm just saying they all right. And all right, we came from the depths of hell. I think Browns fans, we need to understand this. We came from the depths of hell of quarterback play. If we can get to all right this offseason, that is progress. Okay, is it everything? Is it going to fix the problem? No. But you ain't going to go from hell to heaven at quarterback in one off season, brother, or sister. You ain't gonna do that. You ain't gonna do that. It's gonna take time, and there's no prospect in this draft that's gonna take you from heaven to hell in 1 year either. You just ain't gonna do it, right? You need to get to right before you can get to where you want to get to, and these guys are stepping stones to get to where you need to get to. Not anything that's going to excite you, but a necessary middle step in the process. Let's see. What else do I have here for free agents? Oh, you know what? This is just the old Browns fan in me. I would love to bring back Tashawn Gibson. I don't know if anybody else feels this way. Maybe Browns fans are significantly younger than me now, but bring back T. Gibb. T. Gibb was an undrafted free agent for this team. I thought he was a bright spot in a very dark era of Cleveland Browns football. Had some really good years for the Browns. Love seeing him develop. Love seeing how long his career has been. He's about at the end of his career. We need a free safety for a year. He still plays pretty good, pretty high-level free safety. He did it last year for the San Francisco 49ers. Why not have T. Gibb come back to Cleveland where he started and play out a season, be our free safety for a year? Maybe we could draft somebody. If we can't draft somebody, we can push this conversation to next year. But yeah, I would love to bring back Tashawn Gibson. I don't know about y'all. Y'all want to bring back Tashawn Gibson? Let me know in the comment section down below. But I think that'd be fun. Right? And look, this season needs fun. Speaking of other things, I hope they bring back Nick Chubb. It's conflicting, right? You get the Mary Kay report, which is basically a eulogy on Nick Chubb. It makes you feel like he's definitely not coming back. You hear other things that make you feel like Nick Chubb coming back is definitely in the cards. I don't know where it's at. It's 50-50 at this point whether Nick Chubb comes back. I hope we hear something about it sooner than later. But what we do know is that there's not much of a market right there for Nick Chubb, which makes him coming back a bit more probable. So we'll see. We will see. But bring back T. Gibb, and also I want Nick Chubb back. But yes, those are the guys available. Those are guys I think would be interesting in some way, shape, or form. Some of them more realistic than others, right? Like the offensive line stuff, don't think they're going to do that. Stephon Diggs would be a surprise, but I would understand it. And then other stuff feels like stuff that they might go down the route of doing, like Kirk Cousins. But let me know in the comment section down below who's left in free agency that you want the Browns to go after. Let me know in there. Y'all have a great day. Have a better night. Peace.